Anime is usually a medium where amazing happens. It's a brand of escapism, often featuring ordinary humans finding out that they've got amazing powers or that they have some transcendental purpose in life as a chosen one. One common way that the writers set that kind of plot thread up is by making the characters more than just human. Being an ordinary guy is not so amazing, but how about becoming a half angel, a half god, or something half like that? That, my friends, is what today's video is about. In this list, we take a look at 10 characters who we find out aren't so human after all. As if the Attack on Titan comparisons weren't enough, Seraph of the End, another Witch Studio show that features humanity's fight for survival against monsters, stars Yuichiro Yakuya, one of the children who survived the initial cleansing that released the floodgates to the vampire reign over the world. So just like Attack on Titan, we have an angry kid who swears to kill all of the insert enemy species here as our hero. In contrast, Yui ends up not being a vampire. At least he doesn't become what he swore to exterminate, right? As fate would have it, Yui ends up becoming a half seraph. Yes, a seraph, a powerful angel of judgment. In his first transformed form, Yui relentlessly attacks everyone, displaying no interest in vampires and showing the powerful latent powers within him. In a way, it reminds me of someone else that we'll be seeing later on this list. Who knew that the titular Seraph of the End would be our main character all along? Beyond the Boundaries' main protagonist, Akihito Kanabara, is our next entry by virtue of being half Yomu. You know, one of those creatures that comes in all shapes and can possess humans. At first glance, you wouldn't really think of Akihito as someone unique and spectacular. That is, until you remember that he's someone very knowledgeable about the spirit world. All that starts making sense once you remember that Akihito is half Yomu in a literal sense. Born from the union of a human mother and a Yomu father, he has the ability to manipulate fire and power to self-regenerate. Accompanying Mirai on her quest to slay violent Yomu, he uses his powers to great effect. Little does he know that he's not just any kind of half Yomu. Perhaps he does possess something even greater, something even stronger than his stock Yomu powers within him. As to what that is though, you'll just have to watch this underrated gem from KyoAni to find out. We've known a lot of hybrids in anime, but how does being the son of the literal devil sound? That's just what Blue Exorcist protagonist Rin is. Starting off as your typical anime delinquent, Rin finds his life change when he runs into a demon and awakens his powers in the form of blue flames. Turns out that he's not human all along and is a human-demon hybrid. It goes one step further than most anime would do, however. He's not just a regular hybrid, but the son of Satan himself. After another incident involving Father Shiro Fujimoto, Rin finds himself caught up in the grand scheme of things as a member of the True Cross Order. Now the Devil Son has become the greatest thorn in his side. Will Rin get stronger and complete his quest to defeat his father? Well, you might want to read both the manga and watch the anime for this series. Things deviate quite a lot between the two versions. At 7 is Claire from Claymore. The Claymore universe is no stranger to hybrids. In fact, the heroes are a sect of hybrids. The Claymore warriors are actually half human and half Yoma, and their job is to hunt their kin, full Yoma who prey on helpless humans. However, things are a bit different in Claymore because our main characters become the state that they're in by having Yoma flesh implanted in them. The main character, Claire, takes things a bit further by having herself implanted with Claymore flesh instead. That makes her quarter Yuma, and while it comes with the price of having weaker physical abilities, it does come with a really important ability. Due to her status as merely a quarter Yuma, Claire has far greater control of her powers, and considering what happens to fallen Claymore warriors, this comes really handy in a pinch. It's time to feature one of Zuma's many choices for their first waifu as the 6th entry to the list, and I can see why. She's not really my favourite character in Darling in the Franxx, but there are lots of things to like about Zero 2. I know a lot of you guys found her endearing due to her appearance and a strong personality, but Zero 2's actually a character with a lot of hidden depths, just as we found out whilst watching the series. However, one notable thing about her is that she's part Klaxosaur. somehow. I mean, her appearance is already kind of a giveaway that there's something beyond her reputation as a partner killer or some of her quirks. Turns out that her Klaxosaur side comes as a result of being a clone of the Klaxosaur princess. Also, she's unable to reproduce, thus making her truly a one-of-a-kind hybrid in the Darling in the Franxx universe. Good old Eren from Attack on Titan. At this point, who's really surprised to see him on this list, given Attack on Titan's popularity and how he's probably the most intense among the possible candidates? Driven by pure rage and vengeance, Eren's Titan form perfectly encapsulates the turmoil within him. With the exception of the Colossus Titan, Eren's probably the most iconic and recognizable Titan the series has to offer. It seems all too cruel that the poor boy who swore vengeance against these monsters would end up being turned into one himself, but as long as it grants him the power to clean house on fellow monsters, we all know that Eren would take the opportunity with pleasure. Nothing would be sweeter than putting an end to the Titan menace using their own powers against them. Man, what's with these AOT-like shows popping up all of a sudden? Seraph of the End, the actual Attack on Titan, and now Garbaneri of the Iron Fortress. Makes them seem even more similar to one another when you look at it this way, doesn't it? Anyway, coming up next is Mume, a mysterious Garbaneri girl whose encounter with Ikoma kicks off the real meat of Garbaneri of the Iron Fortress's plot. Introduced as a Garbaneri gift girl traveling through Aragane with her brother, circumstances force her to join the crew after the loss of her handler. Mume is unique for a half Garbaneri in a sense that she became one through a different means. Instead of being bitten by one of those zombie stand-ins and becoming one herself, Mume's hybridization came through surgical means. Turns out a blood injection could do the trick as well, granting her all those enhanced abilities that prove useful in the fight against the Garbaneris. An invaluable ally during these times of need indeed. With how big Tokyo Ghoul was some years ago, I'd be surprised if none of you guys expected Kaneki to be here. Kaneki's introduction into the world of ghouls is not a nice one to say the least. After having a lethal encounter in a date gone horribly wrong and being saved by pure luck, Kaneki discovers his disdain that he's become one of those flesh-eating monsters that traumatized him so much. It's good for him that he'd soon encounter not-so-hostile ghouls and have a slightly smoother transition into his new society. However, it takes a long while before he finally comes to terms and accepts what he's become. When he does, world, watch out. Kaneki proves to be an interesting case for me, as much of his growth and on-screen development comes from his road to accepting the ghoul side of him. In fact, his crowning moment in the first season comes when he finally gives in and unleashes his power on that copyright infringement of a villain. What a couple of weeks it's been for Ichigo. We all thought that Bleach was pretty much done as an anime for the longest time, but we just got the news that the anime will be returning in its full glory. Fans of anime in the 2000s will remember Ichigo as the tough guy who can see ghosts and ends up becoming a Shinigami. His most iconic moments include him being pierced by Rukia's sword and gaining said Shinigami powers, as well as donning the all-too recognizable mask and letting his hollow side take over. It wouldn't be fair to call Ichigo half-human at this point, given the number of species in the Bleachverse he is. For the longest time, Ichigo has become Shonen's poster child for a character who just becomes everything. A running joke has it that Ichigo is a hybrid of everything in the series. He started out a human, then got Shinigami and hollow powers. Who knows how much higher he can go when it comes to being the master of everything. Don't tell me that he's also a Quincy all along. Wait a minute. Ironically, our top character on this edition of the list is from a series not too different from the second placer. In fact, Bleach was inspired by Yu Yu Hakusho, if my memory serves me right. Either way, we have Yusuke Urameshi, half human, half demon, topping this list. Yusuke is an interesting variation of the character type when compared to Ichigo. First of all, he's not a combination of so many different species like Ichigo. Second, and more importantly, he's technically not a hybrid on first look. Both of his parents are human, but several generations back, his ancestor is Ryzen, one of the three kings and the demon world's most powerful demon. This explains his powers, his transformations, and the form that manifests during the battle against Sensui. I just knew that something was up when he busted out that overpowered form and beat the hell out of Sensui. His demon heritage goes a long way back, and I wonder how many of you guys called it at the start of the series, hey? How many of you knew that something like that would be revealed eventually? I've got to ask you now, which one of these amongst the top 10 did you like the most? Is there anyone else that I missed out that you felt deserved to be included in this list? If so, I'd love to hear your opinions. The comment section is there, and you know the drill. As an aside, if there's also something that you want me to do as a top 10 list, write it down and let's see what I can do. Thanks for the support, and I hope to see you next time.